Hey everyone, it's Alex. I'm here with the creator of WritingBattle.com, Max Bjork. We're going to be talking about writing contests and a little bit of what he's been up to. Max, thanks for joining me.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
All right, so the first thing I wanted to cover is just could you give us like a little bit of an overview of what Writing Battle is and when it started?
Sure. Yeah. So, Writing Battle is an online writing competition that's quarterly, and what's unique about it is that it's entirely peer powered. So, all the judging is, or I should say, the vast majority of the judging is done by the participants themselves. So, you have to write a story, and then you have to read other stories that you're not directly competing with, so in other genres than your own story. And yeah, that all kind of helps propel these four kind of parallel tournaments, and that are broken up by genre. And so yeah, so it started in February 2021. So we've been doing this for 2 years now, and um, yeah, I think that answers.
All right, yeah. Yeah, it looked really cool when I was checking out the rules and everything because I've done uh, a few different writing battle like writing contests online. Not a lot, but a couple. And one of the issues that usually comes up is like a bottleneck for judging. You know, like if
Right.
if they get all the entrants that they want, then they have a few judges who have to read all of them, and it ends up taking way longer than it's supposed to, and everyone's waiting. And so I
Right.
really like the kind of decentralized judging that you have going on for that reason, but also just because lets everyone be more involved in the process, and it gives the writers a chance to improve their skills just by reading and giving feedback. So I really like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what inspired you or gave you the idea to start the writing contest?
Well, so similar to you, I also competed in a couple different online writing contests, and so one really big one that's well known. Um, like I found it fun. I found it actually a blast, and I loved it, and I especially love the community after you submitted your story. Um, or in my case, it was a screenwriting competition, and so after completing the script and submitting it, it was like the forums afterwards, chatting with people and getting some pure feedback. So I had a lot of fun. I thought that the website was kind of archaic and there was a lot of problems there, but I especially liked the peer feedback after I submitted. So that's where I was inspired with Writing Battle. I just thought that, well, one, the competition that I participated in was super expensive. So I'll speak in Canadian dollars. I think it was something silly. It was like $65 Canadian or
Oh
something.
wow, that is an expensive one.
It was expensive, and given the but it's also understandable. Like if you're getting a bunch of judges to read and give feedback to every story,
Hmm.
that's also expensive,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So there's this whole reading fee. So I kind of thought, well, why shouldn't there be a writing contest where you could you can make it relatively cheap if you got the writers to give feedback, and peer feedback is just as good as so-called these kind of professional feedback that you can get. I would say it's at least on par. um, and Yeah, so I thought that I could lower the price by that, by doing that. And yeah, I thought there was room for modernization. So this other contest that I participated in, it was like there was like a bunch of like weird kind of privacy things. Like
Mm.
um, there was this massive spreadsheet that they had that was completely public. It wasn't behind like a username and a password, and it's like everyone's name and their city, and like kind of like where they live, not their exact address, but like everyone's name was on this massive, massive list. This basically this spreadsheet, and you had to find your name that way. And then you had to sign up to another website just to submit your story. It was weird.
Uh,
So I thought like it could be modernized. And my last point that I'll say is that I thought that there was like room to kind of gamify writing
mhm.
contests, right? So that's where like every male my age, you know, I was into poker playing growing up, especially, right? And so I thought it would be cool if like the writing prompts were these cards that you can kind of trade in for, you can draw them just like poker. So you can like trade them in for different prompts.
Mhm.
And yeah, anyways, I'm kind of rambling, but there's trophies and everything. You can combine three of the same trophies to get an even more rare trophy, and then you can combine those, and then you get trophies for like not redrawing, things like that. Like so, yeah, and then of course the big tournament kind of thing is fun. So yeah, there's just I don't know there. I don't think people have really explored online writing contests enough, and I thought that there was like uh, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I did a little bit of research into like online writing contests just leading up to this, and I was surprised at how many there are. But I was also
mhm,
surprised at how uh, like non-creative they are in the way that they're set up.
totally.
Like
Yeah.
most of them are much more focused on like the kind of content that they're asking for, and everything else about the contest is just kind of ordinary and boring.
Yeah.
Whereas what really stood out to me about Writing Battle is that it's different in a lot of ways, like from the judging method to the fact that you can redraw your prompts, and also the focus on community. So that really stood out to me, and it seems like a really great idea. Which since you've been running this for a while now, it seems like it's doing pretty well. So you mentioned screenwriting. Is that your main background as a writer, or do you also do like other fiction?
So yeah, so actually Writing Battle started out as Screenwriting Battle. We've only been doing story, like short stories for a year. So the first year was entirely screenwriting. It was called Screenwriting Battle, but it was just too niche, and
Hmm.
it was kind of early in the business where I was still iterating. Every battle was just completely different. I was just trying to find something that I mean, that's what you do in computer science and any kind of software, is that you just constantly iterate, right? So that's what I was doing with the contests. I was just playing around with a whole bunch of ideas, and uh, so anyways, I was doing that with screenwriting, and it's tough when you first launch something like that. It's hard to even convince people to even try it. So, and screenwriting was just too niche, and but when it really stuck is when I switched it from Screenwriting Battle to Writing Battle, and it was supposed to incorporate both story and screenwriting, but story just kind of took over last year. It was just it's hard to justify using one of the quarterly battles as for screenwriting when the short story is just too popular. So I'm going to do something else fun with screenwriting. But yeah, it's just short story now. But yeah, for me as a writer, it's just like, yeah, I was into screenwriting as a kid, and I just dabbled in it here and there. I'm really not much of a writer. But I love like narrative. I love story,
Hmm.
and I'm a huge film fan, and I'm starting to read more. But what about yourself, Alex? I don't know.
Oh, I actually I've been like a pretty passionate writer for most of my life, starting out when I was pretty young, and I used to. I mean, technically, I still am an administrator of a creative writing forum. It's kind of dead right now. We've been talking about trying to get it going again, but we haven't really
Yeah,
committed to that. So that was one of the reasons that I thought Writing Battle was so cool, because we actually had like Writing Battle features on that forum, which
cool.
wasn't the exact same thing, but it was like you could write like a story or even like a fight or a battle scene between your characters, and then someone would judge it and give scores, and there would be like a winner. And we had tournaments and stuff, so not exactly the same thing, but
Between your characters. So was it like a tabletop thing, or?
no, it was definitely very role playing oriented. We kind of referred to it as like a hybrid of a role playing game and creative writing.
Cool.
But there was no like dice or anything like that. We did have character sheets, like so you could like there was levels, and you would create a character, and then when you leveled up, you could like add new abilities to the character and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love that.
It was really popular at one time, and then I think between most of the staff not having enough time to commit to it anymore, and the interest in that kind of thing kind of moving to like Discord and play by chat instead of play by post,
Right.
it started to be harder to find people who were really interested in it. But I mean, we've talked about bringing it back, and I think that we could if we really committed to it. But it's just it's hard to find the time.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah, I told some of the other staff about writing battle, and they were pretty interested, and so they're looking forward to seeing this podcast, and maybe there can be some sort of collaboration in the future. I don't know.
Cool. Yeah. Right on.
But yeah, so I did that, and then I studied a few different kinds of writing when I was like in my early 20s. And then I kind of got my start in working as an online freelancer, writing books and writing like both fiction and nonfiction. And then kind of through that, I saw that there was a need for like marketing services, and I realized that I could sort of bridge into marketing as a copywriter and a content writer. So that's what I ended up doing, and now here I am.
And there's a lot of that right now. There's a whole bunch of authors that are turning to self-publishing. So I can see that being you finding a lot of work that way. That's awesome.
Yeah. So have you done any other business ventures in the past, or is this like your first business?
Yeah, this is the first thing I've done. I really knew I was working at Lockheed Martin.
Oh wow!
And I was a software dev there, and then I switched to systems engineering. So I was anyway. I was my background's pretty like I was a weapons tech in the Navy, and then when I got a computer science degree, did Lockheed Martin. And I was a software dev there for a while, and then I switched to systems. So I was a weapons engineer at Lockheed for a couple of years. And that was right before I started writing battle. So I was like, I knew I wanted to start a business with software. I just didn't really know. I didn't know what exactly what that was going to look like. And I knew nothing about web development. So it was a huge learning curve. I knew nothing about business, nothing about web dev, and I just quit my job at Lockheed, and because I was able to, because I had the financial means to do that, and just kind of try this out. And I really wasn't expecting it to be my full-time gig, but what ended up happening was I was a stay-at-home dad for a year. So and then this started to make enough money where I could do this full time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, getting a small business venture going is not easy, and with this being such a unique kind of business, it's awesome that worked out.
Cool. Yeah.
So how many writers are you getting on average for each battle?
So we're growing by at least 25% each battle. So each quarter we're growing by 25%. And
Wow.
But this last one, it looks like we're growing by 50% since the last battle. So we're looking at around 650 for this upcoming one. And So yeah, it's definitely catching on, right? Like it's not huge yet. 650 is not like some massive number, but um, you know, it's it's certainly growing, and it's growing a lot quicker since we switched away from screenwriting.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
So
that's
I mean,
great.
to grow by 50% in a quarter is like we can't believe it. And when I say we, my wife has started working on it too, helping with social media and just I just kind of generally just run ideas by her and now anyway. So yeah,
Nice. And so you kind of already explained the judging system, but could you go into that a little bit more and explain how the winners actually get chosen?
sure, yeah. So it's so with my computer science background, like a tournament is just a binary tree, right? So it's like I love the idea of um, you know, some like a very simple choice. Um, you know, especially if you get like if you have like I'm going to call it, it's probably a bad word for it, but like a mob vote. You know, if you have a mob of people, you know, voting, and it's decentralized, as you said, you want the criteria to be um, as simple as possible,
Right.
right? Like everybody's if you did some kind of a number system or something, right? Like everybody's 10 is going to be different, and you can normalize it and you can do all this kind of stuff, right? But like to me, like I love the idea of like just two stories up against each other,
Hmm.
and the person has just one choice. It's like which one do you think should move on, right? Which one wins? So and it's best of five. So you have to think of this big tournament system, and like each node is between two stories, and yeah, it's super. It's yeah. Anyway, it's really complicated. The stuff that's going on in the back end, like so, I'm using Wix right now,
Hmm.
and I'm using something called Wix Velo, which so there's like I mean, a stupid amount of code written for the site to make all this work. But basically, it's like every person gets a certain schedule, and they get emailed a schedule, and yeah, you um, for each, it's called a duel. So you get five duels. In each duel, you have to read two stories and decide which one wins. So and so it's kind of like I call it like a fog of war, where you don't actually know where in the tournament those two stories are. You know, you're just it obviously if it's later on in the month, you know it's somewhere near the end, you know, but probably like if you get it near the end, it's somewhere around like the quarterfinals or higher, or around there. And um, yeah, so you as a judge, you're just making one decision, which one moves on. So um, yeah, and then behind the scenes, that's progressing the tournament. And so when the battle starts, it's not like everything is predetermined, right? It's not like you know if you Alex, if you join, it's not like we start the battle and I know as the administrator which 10 stories you're going to read. It's like that's decided like, you know, an hour before you read your stories, right? And
Hmm.
anyway, yeah. So it's I think that I don't know if I just confused everyone,
No,
but
it
anyway,
makes sense to
yeah,
me.
cool.
I mean, I love the idea, and also I think that it's keeping thing like although it's complex behind the scenes, it's keeping it simpler for the judges, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
if you were to give people like 10 stories and say like rank these from 1 to 10, then that would be like a much harder decision for most people, and they could
Yeah.
easily get caught up in that. But when you just say like read these two, pick one, and they don't know who else has like they don't know who else has said which one wins, then it just makes the decision much more simple and based on like what they like about it. So.
Exactly, and that's what the participants say as well, right? Like, so it's not only you choose which one wins, but you also give feedback, okay?
Hmm.
And a admin, which is right now just myself and my wife, Tiona, we're reviewing everybody's feedback, right? So it's not like, like a big pitfall could be if somebody didn't actually read the stories and they just randomly chose one or something like that, right? So we obviously don't want that. So we record like a whole bunch of different like metadata to make sure that they've read the stories, or it's fairly clear that they read the stories. And we're also looking at the feedback, that we can compare the feedback between, anyways, I don't have to go into that, but it's like, but an important part is also just giving feedback as well. And it has to be clear to us that you actually read the stories with the feedback.
Right.
And people, so it's actually fairly simple as a judge. You just like, you say what you liked, you say what you think might need a bit of work, and you have to do it nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise it gets sent back, and there's a whole process for that. And then you choose who wins. So anyway.
Awesome. So do you know what types of writers are joining? Like, is it like a lot of amateurs or professionals, or are there specific genres that are more popular?
Yeah, so there's a whole range of I would say like the average demographic is a 35-year-old female.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's pretty split between the sexes, and there's a whole range of ages and a whole range of experiences. It's like, and you would be surprised how nice people are to folks that are clearly like new to writing, which wasn't the case with screenwriting.
Right.
So, but with short story, people are like extremely nice, and it makes my job a lot easier, and it makes the whole community just more fun. So anyway, yeah. So I would say, yeah, a whole range. I would say it's like you don't get a lot of people who have written just a ton of books, but you get a lot of people who have self-published and stuff. And I mean, if you go to our past winners page, especially in the last couple of battles, like the stories have been insane. They've been really good. So the winners, I mean. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I found you via your Facebook ads. Has that been going on for a while, or do you have like other strategies that you use to attract people?
Yeah, it's mostly just it's social media ads and Google ads. And that's a massive learning curve.
Yeah,
for me, huge learning curve, and we've only just started to kind of nail that down. But man, you can waste so much money doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
I like, for anyone that's listening to this and thinking about starting any kind of like online business, like don't try to do anything special. Look at the closest business to yours and find one of their ads. Like, find an ad that's and then just basically do that. Because especially if you've never done it before, like I can't tell you, like that's what we did this time. And this last ad that we did in Facebook has been doing really well. Like, and what I mean by well is that the cost per click is really low right now. And
that's really good.
Yeah. So there's that. And then for specifically for a writing contest, you just want to get on it as much what's the word for it, like a meta site that lists all the writing contests, like what would you call it, like an augmented site or something, right? Augmentation of writing contests, is that the right word?
You mean like lists of writing contests?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a whole bunch of sites that all they do is just list writing contests.
Yeah.
You want to get on every single last one and make sure that they're up to date. So yeah. I have to say one thing. I know I don't know if we're running out of time or anything. I have to say one thing is that, like the first battle that I did, I paid people to do it. I was like, I paid everybody. I paid 11 people off of a writing forum. I paid them each $20 in like an Amazon credit. I was like, please try this. I don't know if it's gonna work. You know, so like, right, and if that's like, you know, around $220, and then plus you give a little bit extra to the winner, you know, that's a pretty cheap way to to learn a lot about your business, you know.
Yeah.
So and anyways, yeah, and then the next one I didn't have to pay people, right? It was like I made just the next one free to join. You know, the second one was just free.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third one I got like, I think it was like $5 to join or something, right? Like, so like, you know, because but anyway, yeah, so that was the life of early writing battle. So
Nice. So what are your plans for the future of Writing Battle?
so we've kind of outgrown Wix Velo. The site's just a little bit slow, and especially with the forum. So I created the forum from scratch with Wix and Wix Velo, and that's because there's an important part about the writing contest which I haven't talked about, is that after everything's done, so nobody knows who won. There's still the fog of war. There's something called the debrief. So people go onto the forum, and with a click of a button, they can share their story now publicly. Not publicly, it's all protected behind a username and password, but at least they can see, everyone can see your own like online profile, and you can share your story and comment on each other's stories, and you get even more feedback from everybody. But this time people can see your name, right? And so like, you know, there's and then what happens is that after a few days of that, everyone's just reading each other's stories, commenting on each other's stuff. It's like every day a little bit of the tournament is revealed, right? So people are kind of waiting, you know, so it just kind of, and we get like, yeah, we get a ton of participants. It's like, I think we had over 60% of the last participants participate in the debrief process, which is pretty crazy for a contest like that.
Yeah, it's great engagement.
Yeah. So anyway, that what I was going to say is that that's really slow. So I'm building the website from scratch with HTML and CSS, and using Amazon Web Service likely. I'm still kind of exploring that. So that'll launch in probably 3 or 4 months, and so hopefully it'll be a little bit quicker. And yeah.
Cool. So sounds like you've got a lot coming up. What are you most excited about for this year?
Yeah, so just the new website, and I'm excited to get off of Wix and play around with the so the debrief kind of portion of the battle that I talked about. I'm excited to explore more of that. So like, it would be cool if while you're participating as a judge, you can see parts of the tournament structure. You know, you can know kind of roughly where you are, and you can add, like, it would be fun if you had the like a medal kind of system where if you preferred a certain story, or you found the story like the most funny, or the, you know, whatever it is, you can give that story a medal.
Oh yeah.
And then people could kind of, in this big kind of tournament structure that you can navigate through, people could see medals. And I want the debrief portion not just to be a form, but it should be like a visualization of the tournament, and you can click on each story, and each story has its own page on the website. where yeah, where the story can just kind of live, and yeah, and maybe users can even just upload their own kind of personal projects as well, and ask for feedback and stuff. So anyway, there's like, it just opens up so many more possibilities with just to I could do all this on Wix. It's just I'm worried about the speed, and I'm already like maxing out what's possible on it. So
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, and I'm definitely pro getting away from Wix.
yes,
I mean, I've worked with a few clients who use it or used to use it, and I don't like anything about it. So
fair enough. Yeah,
yeah, so that's definitely a good plan, and I do agree that the more you can give people options to like express their feelings about the stories they're reading, and to like have a profile with their works and stuff on the website, the more people are going to get engaged with it, and
totally.
so I think that's awesome. All right, so I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about. Now the website is writingbattle.com, right?
Yes.
And which social media platforms are you on, and where can people find you on them?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. So that's the name is our username is Writing Battle, and then for Twitter, it's Writing Bee Contest, because someone took Writing Battle 10 years ago and never used it. So come on, Elon Musk, delete those accounts. But anyway, yeah, Writing Bee Contest for Twitter, but everything else for Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram is just Writing Battle, and all one word, of course. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Max, thanks so much for talking with me. I'm really looking forward to getting involved in this, and I think that it's a great thing, and it's going to continue to get more popular.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.